Right, let's talk about this one. This is a big one, the Andalite Chronicles. And because it's so big, I'm separating it into its 3 constituent parts. And I believe that's the way they were originally released, in these single segments. There's 3 of them. You've got Elfangor's Journey, Alaran's Choice, and An Alien Dies. And then eventually it was released as that big version there, which is quite easily the largest Animorphs book there is. It was an alright start. This is one of the most popular books in the series. Does it live up to those standards? Let's talk about part 1, Elfangor's Journey. We start off with a prologue, and that is from Elfangor's point of view, the first scene in the main Animorphs series where Elfangor crash lands. He doesn't go into the details of what's going on, it's more of an inner monologue, an overview of what happened there. And he talks about his Harek de l'Est, which is his last entry into the great journal of his life. And he's going to tell us all about how he got to the position that he finds himself in. It's very short. It's the most prologue-y prologue that I've ever seen. It's like 3 pages just saying, this is me, and this is the story I'm going to tell. So there's really nothing there, nothing really to grasp onto. So we go straight into chapter 1. And we're on the dome ship called the Star Sword. And Elfangor is an Arist. Arist? Correct me if I'm wrong. I'll just call it Arist. It's quite fun to say. I feel like an Andalite right now. Arist. Yeah, I'm stopping that. He's with his Bezzy, Arbron. There's not so much his Bezzy at this point, more sort of a nuisance to him, but they're both Arists on this dome ship, the only 2 there, and they're going through training with Sophor, who I believe is a prince, Prince Sophor. And Elfangor's learning how to fight, how to just let himself go and do the thing without thinking about it too much. And then they're going to be called to the bridge of the dome ship, and they rush through to find the commanding officer. His name was Captain Phaon. He's the captain of Star Sword. We don't see much of him. He just calls the Arist in, and they have a meeting on the bridge, and there's a few other characters there, like Prince Briar, I believe is the tactical officer. But they're talking about a Skritnar ship that they've seen on the radar, and they want these 2 Arists to join one of the princes. There's so many names at this point that I forget who's who. I don't think it's that important. And they go off in this task group to intercept this Skritnar ship and to find out what's going on. Because the Skritnar, turns out, are this weird race that are like, they're space pirates, essentially. And the Skrit and the Nar are different. It's like there's a metamorphosis thing that goes on, where the Skrit cocoon themselves and become the Nar. Except instead of butterflies, they're greys. I think that's what they're called, greys. You know, like your standard alien-looking fuckers. But yeah, whatever. So the Arists are put on this ship on their own, which is a bit weird, because as far as I'm concerned, an Arist is like the equivalent of, say, an officer cadet. So when I went through training for the Navy, the first thing I was an officer cadet. And you don't carry much weight at all. You're basically learning how to be an officer. And when I went aboard my first ship as an officer cadet, you are there simply to observe. You're not given any real responsibility. Yeah, sure, you might be given a task or 2 to do, but you're always looked over by a supervisor, what have you. And you're never given the main responsibility for anything. You're there to learn. I suppose I see that as very similar to the Arist when I first went into this book, which is why I was a bit surprised that they were just given this ship and told, go do the thing. It's like, okay, so an Arist must be like a sub-lieutenant, which is your first commissioned officer role, but it's probably somewhere between there. Sub-lieutenants are starting to get their own responsibilities, but they're always under the control of a lieutenant, and so on and so forth. So these 2 have they've got a little ship, and they rush out into space, and they go too fast, and the prince in charge of them is just like, calm down, lads, chill out a bit. And they go off, and the strangest thing was that they are the ones that are told to go into the Skritnar ship. And this goes back to me saying, well, they're Arists. Why are they being given this responsibility? They're like kid officers. And this prince is just like, yep, send them to do all that dirty work. We'll just sort of hang back. What the fuck? No. These two have no responsibility. The Arists, why are they the ones having to go into this ship? They could be ambushed. They could be killed. And then it's your job to tell the commanding officer that you sent them in there to get killed. With no training, essentially. But maybe that's just the way Andalites work. I don't know. At the end of the day, I'm not an Andalite. You're not an Andalite, I assume. So, who are we to judge how the Andalite military does their thing? Even though I do it all the time and I say how crap it is. Because let's face it, they're incompetent shits. Up to this point, I realised this is what Book 8 should have started like. Remember Book 8, The Alien, and we had the prologue. It was quite an extended prologue of Axe in the dome ship with Elfangor. And I said it was the cringiest thing I've probably ever read. And it was awful. It was really disappointing that the first time you end up on a dome ship is so bad. It's written badly, it's cringe, the lines are awful. The start of this book is what that should have been. I mean, it's not perfect by any stretch, but it felt immersive. It felt like, right, we're in a military ship now. People are speaking and interacting with each other as if they're in the military. That's what it should have been. Obviously not perfectly, but it's more close to what it should have been in Book 8, where they're sort of going around saying, go burn some slugs. And I'll go with yours. Fucking, what is this tripe? But this one, much better. I will say though, I think there's the prologue or chapter 1 was written pretty poorly. It was very much like the start of The Stranger, where it's very monotonous and quite hard to read. It's poorly written, but it did immediately get better. So instead of harping on that for another 2 minutes, I'll just say that. So the two Arists board the ship alone, because why not? And there are two humans there, and they've taken a weapon, and they're threatening the Nar, the Nar captain, who acts in typical piratey fashion. They're pretty inconsequential. They're just there. And the Andalites come in. They find these humans. They're like, what the hell are those things? They take the Skritnar computer. They download it or whatever, put it onto like a Andalite USB stick, an AUSB, and take it back. And they take the humans with them as well. So the space pirates have been pirated. Basically, the Andalites saw the ship, thought, we don't like the cut of their jib. So they go down and just nick their computer system and their hoard. So you're calling the Skritnar pirates, and you're just going to jump on their ship and take their shit. What the fuck? For all they know, this Skritnar ship could have just gone on a holiday. It was like a cruise ship. I don't fucking know. But I'm not privy to the Andalite information. They probably saw stuff that I didn't. I could be talking bollocks. Whatever. I will say that it's a bit strange that the Andalites took out the engines of this Skritnar ship. They didn't even know what was on it. They just knew it was in the vicinity of this planet called Earth. So, yeah, you talk about the Skritnar being space pirates, and then you go and blow up their engines and invade their ship just to see what they're doing, and then you just take their information. Fine. They take the humans as well, and there's two of them. There's Lauren and there's Chapman, and this is where the story lost me. Firstly, both of these humans are referring to each other as kid. Now, when you refer to someone as kid, you're usually talking about someone who's younger than you, and they're both calling each other kid. So I was immediately just like, wait, so one of them's older than the other, but we don't know who? Why are they both speaking to each other like this? Pfft, I don't know. It's just written very weirdly. This Lauren character was a bit frustrating, really. a bit frustrating because, let's face it, these two humans have just been abducted. Humans being abducted by aliens, right? I mean, I understand Chapman. I do. He's supposed to be the sort of shady antagonist of this first part, but he's really not. Lauren, on the other hand, is just fucking bizarre. You've just been abducted. Any normal person would be acting like Chapman. You're suspicious of everything. You're like, what the fuck is going on? Who are you? What is this all about? What the hell are you doing? That's relatable. Lauren is just like, oh, I've been abducted. Cool. That's a nice tree. What? Fucking what? Seriously? That's not how people react to being abducted. I mean, I know I've never seen anyone abducted before. I mean, there are people that say they've been abducted, and they usually come back, you know, not saying how cool it was. They're all saying, like, oh, they're fucking aliens, they're after me. But this girl, this Lauren girl, within like 5 minutes, she's laying her lips on Elfangor. What the fuck is this? Is she like one of these furries? If there are any furries out there, please explain this to me. She lays eyes on this alien and she's immediately just like kissing him. Is that normal? I don't know, the character just lost me. It's not realistic. Chapman is realistic and he's put across as this antagonist. Elfangor immediately acts like an asshole to this guy. It's no wonder he acted like an asshole back to you. Lauren's just fucking dancing around like, whoop-de-doo, I've been abducted, whoop-de-doo. Fuck what? Awful characterization, really is. Give us some more character depth. Give us some realistic reactions to a whole fucking life being turned upside down. To being thrust between alien pirates. She's just like, well, this is cool. Chapman is supposed to be this sort of, I'm the bad guy. But he's just the realist. He's just reacting like your average human would react. What are you talking to me about that for? What's all this? Why are you not telling me things? Chapman's the fucking good guy in this shit. And then we go through this scene where they're brought back onto the dome ship and Elfangor and Arbron are shocked that humans eat through their mouths and climb trees. Their arms are strong enough to climb trees. They're like, what the fuck is this shit? Have they never learnt about any other race apart from Andalites? Have they never learnt about the Taxons and the Hawkbajir? Because they seem to know a lot about them. As far as they know, surely Taxons and Hawkbajir eat with their mouths. Hawkbajir also climb trees. And these two Andalite warrior cadets are shocked that any creature would eat with its mouths and climb trees with its arms. Maybe they didn't get taught that in class. Oh, but what's this? Later on in the book, Elfangor's talking about how he had to morph a Jabala bird as his first ever morph. And it had a mouth and it climbed trees. Have they got fucking memory loss or some shit? Again, I just think it's careless writing. I know this is one of the most loved books in the Animorphs series, but there's a few cases of just careless authorship here. It's almost just like there's no plan, no pre-script or whatever. It's just fucking write as he goes, which, to be fair, is what I normally do. So, you know, that's fair enough. But, you know, you're writing an actual published series here. Take more care. Now, let's just talk briefly about Elfangor and Chapman. Because I did say that Chapman reacts very realistically. Remember, this guy has just been abducted by aliens and then re-abducted by another group of aliens. He's probably right to feel a bit peeved. Right. So, Lauren just says, I think these Andalites are okay. To Chapman, at least they're better looking than the last bunch because she's just fucking la-dee-da, fucking away in the clouds. Chapman rightly says, shut up. I'm not interested in the opinion of a kid, even though she's referred to him as the kid before, so what the fuck's going on there? Chapman rightly says, after Lauren criticised him a bit, and now it seems your heroics are pointless, we're prisoners again, and I have a feeling we won't be grabbing guns away from these Andalites. Suddenly he lunged forward toward the Dracon beam in my hand. Without even thinking, I whipped my tail forward and pressed the blade against Chapman's throat. Are we supposed to think that Chapman's the bad guy here? Considering he's lunged for the weapon of an alien race who's just abducted him. We're supposed to see him as the bad guy. Remember when we first see Lauren and she's stolen the fucking Nars gun and is loading it at them? Why is Lauren seen as the good guy and him as the bad guy? They've done exactly the fucking same thing, except he's got some fucking idea of what the fuck is going on. Chapman laughed. See that? See how fast he was? Couldn't even see that tail move. Again, he gave me an insolent look. Wow, what a dick. You've just abducted him and he's going to give you an insolent look. What a twat. I mean, fuck you, Elfangor. Have you got no fucking empathy for this guy? I felt like a fool, not for the first time that day. The human Chapman had been testing me. Fucking what? Are you fucking serious, Elfangor? You've just abducted the fuck. I have a feeling this guy's testing me. What the fuck do you think he's going to do? Honestly. He's just going to sit back and think, well, these guys have got fucking arms like mine. I'm just going to do whatever he fucking tells me. He's clearly the good guy. No. No. Elfangor, you absolute divvy stick. I didn't like the human named Chapman. I didn't like his suspicion towards me. After all, we had rescued him from the future as a zoo animal on the Skritnar homeworld. He should be grateful. Fuck you, Elfangor. Fuck you. That's one of the most disgusting character portrayals I've seen in these books. I abducted him from these other aliens. He should be fucking grateful. No. You've got to earn respect. And you sitting there fucking threatening him all the time. No. Fucking... What a tit! I really do empathise with this Chapman character until the very end of the book, which we'll get to. I will point out one of the funniest parts in the book, and I don't think it's intentionally funny, but page 49, everybody turned Canadian. Does everyone else notice this? Like, everyone at the end of what they're saying says, A. An exodatologist, eh? It's not enough to be a fighter anymore, eh? But I suppose you Andalites keep the secret to yourselves, eh? Page 49's a blast, just because everybody briefly turns Canadian. There comes a part then where they're going back to Earth, but Arbron intercepts, or not intercepts, he cracks the computer code that he's stolen from the ship, the Skritnar ship, and he finds out they've gone in the direction of what they can assume is the Taxon homeworld, which is understandable because when you're in a fucking 3D space and you go in a certain direction, you're probably pinpointing in a certain sector or whatever. And instead of just saying, right, we'll drop the humans off and then we'll go, because they're right fucking in front of Earth, they say, right, we're just going to turn the whole fucking thing around. And off we go. And Chapman is rightfully pissed off, as any sane person would be. We're about 5 foot away from our doorstep, and suddenly you want to go to fucking Barnstaple. No, just drop me off at my fucking doorstep and fuck off. But there is a part where Chapman is a bit of a dick. Lauren's talking about how her father went to war and didn't come back the same. And that's pretty standard PTSD sort of stuff. And Chapman sort of brashly says something about him being a nut job after coming back from Vietnam. I mean, let's be honest. What is Chapman's greatest guilt up till like the very last chapter? He says things in a very brash and obnoxious way. That's his great crime in this book. He doesn't talk very nice sometimes. That's the big bad of, well, not so much the big bad of this part of the book, but he's the antagonist at the start. And then Alaran says that sometimes they come back from war, but they don't truly come back. And there's a brief moment there where, you know, I hang around with veterans a lot. I am a veteran as well. I've never been to an actual war zone, but I talk to people that have been to war zones, and they aren't the same. And they're not the same person that they went out as. And that bit hit home for me. Yeah, so Chapman had to get put in his place there a bit. PTSD is shit. It really is shit. There are plenty of veterans charities out there, by the way, and this is probably the serious part of the video where I say, look into this stuff. It really is much worse than perhaps you think it might be, and perhaps much more widespread. Look into your local veterans charities and PTSD charities, what have you, and just do a bit of learning about it and maybe spread the word, or if you can, do a bit of donating. I will say though, apparently Elfangor has never heard of PTSD. He is a warrior cadet, an arist, and he's just like, what the fuck, what's PTSD then? Who brought this guy up? Honestly, he's like Tobias levels of dickery at the moment. He's at prick level. So these Andalites take these humans for a wily trip through to the Taxon homeworld, and we learn that they have to go through zero space, which is this distanceless, timeless void. And I thought to myself, so if there's no distance, then why is it taking them time to go through it? Have you ever, speed equals distance over time. If there's no distance, then it shouldn't take time. It should just be there. I don't know the science of zero space, but I don't think the authors do either. I need to actually explain why they're going to the Taxon homeworld. The Skritnar had a second ship, and apparently it took the Time Matrix, which is, as the Andalites point out, is something from mythology, which I don't know who built it. I'm not sure if we find out who did. Maybe we do, I don't know. But it can move you forward or backward in time, and it's the most dangerous weapon known to the Andalites. And the Skritnar have it. The Skritnar apparently don't know how to use it, because they would probably just give it to the Yeerks or take it back to the home planet. They go instead to the Taxon homeworld. Who knows why? Why the Skritnar going to the Taxon homeworld? Does that get explained? I don't think it didn't in that part, for sure. The Skritnar just right, let's go on a fucking holiday to the Taxon homeworld. To a Yeerk spaceport. Sounds to me like they're giving it to the Yeerks. So maybe they do know what it is. Just a thought. So this thing can move you forward and backward in time, which, according to the Andalites, is the most dangerous weapon possible. Remember, I forget where it was, but they were going towards Earth, and Elfangor had this sort of inner monologue bit where he says, oh, we can't go maximum burn. It would only take a few hours, but time would have advanced years on Earth. So, time travel? Wait, so the most powerful weapon on Earth, the thing of mythology, you can do practically the same thing by turning up the thrusters on your engine. Maybe it's because he doesn't think he can go backward in time. But if time is dependent on your speed towards an object, then surely going away from the object at that high speed would take you backward in time. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I got pretty poor grades at A-level physics, and it's been so fucking long. But also, you've got this timeless void of zero space. Surely there's some time travel shenanigans there. I don't know, just the fact that he sort of offhandedly said, oh, we should just go forward in time if we go a bit faster. And he's like, the Time Matrix allows you to time travel. It's the most dangerous weapon in the world, in the universe. I don't know, again, it just seems like careless writing to me. They come to the Taxon homeworld, or the outer limits of the atmosphere or whatever, and they find a lone transport vessel. And once again, Elfangor and Arbron are tasked with taking this ship. And they go in, they fight off the Taxons, and eventually 4 Hork-Bajir. Put them into a hold, not expecting the Taxons to eat the Hork-Bajir apparently, but they did anyway, because Alran's a fucking idiot. Turns out there's loads of Yeerks on board here. And we get the moral quandary. Remember in book 6 where Jake was more than happy to boil the Yeerks alive? Well, we have quite a similar situation here where Alran just wants to flush these Yeerks out into space. And Elfangor steps up and says, oh, hold on. His words were, Andalites do not kill prisoners. And you have this moral butting of heads. Now, we already know that Alran is known as a disgrace. We don't know why yet. Well, I do, but we reading this chronologically, publishing order, don't. And he's just like, right, we've got all these prisoners, kill them. Now, I know we can't really talk about Andalite customs and principles and all that. We can talk from the point of view of humans, from which I will say killing prisoners is bad. I mean, I know I've seen people on Twitter saying killing prisoners is fine because they were Yerks, and you think, well, that's not the fucking point, is it? You know, it's these Antifa sorts that just fucking have no moral fucking idea. So Alaran wants to flush these Yerks out into space. Alberon jumps in at the last minute to, not so much save the Yerks, but say, you know, reason X, Y, Z, we can't do it here. Alaran's like, yeah, okay, whatever. But he wanted to do it. And we know from future books that he is willing to kill prisoners, effectively. So maybe that's why he's a disgrace. Maybe we'll learn later on in this book. We have our last bit with the humans. Chapman gets threatened by Axe for talking loudly. So yeah, Elfangor continues to act like a dick to Chapman. It's no surprise that he does what he does at the end. Lauren decides she's fallen in love and starts fucking kissing him after like 5 minutes of knowing him. What the fuck is this character? And then we get to the end of the book. They're on the Taxon homeworld. They've morphed Taxon, so we get our first Taxon point of view sort of thing. Not really, but from Taxon morph. And Elfangor exposes himself when he refuses to eat. Alaran did say, act like a Yerk. And Elfangor, yeah, I mean, it's understandable that he would sort of back off from that, but he did lay himself in a bit of bother. And Subvisa 7 takes him, throws him into the hive. He demorphs. This Subvisa is clearly incompetent. I wonder who he is. Elfangor morphs, this Kafit bird escapes and sees the Jahar, which is the ship that they were using, comes down, and out steps Chapman. And he pulls out Lauren and says, I'm going to give you a planet full of this. Which on the face of it looks like grand betrayal. It's been a long time since I read this book, so I forget exactly what happens. I think it might be some like double bluff sort of thing. I could be very wrong. Right, so that was part 1, Elfangor's journey. Quite entertaining, quite fun. It was definitely better than the Andalite shite, the Andershite we saw at the start of book 8. Much, much better. God damn, it was better. Still some odd points. Lauren is, I mean, what do you say? It just doesn't act like a normal person. She's off a fucking rocker. Maybe that's her character thing. She's so desperate for, you know, the schlong that she'll jump on a fucking alien that's just abducted her. But maybe some women are into that shit. Chapman is portrayed as this bad guy, even though he reacts like... Basically, you've got Lauren who acts like nobody would act, and you've got Chapman who acts like everybody reacts, and Chapman is seen as the bad guy. Whatever. I mean, the part at the end obviously was dodge. But up to that point, who was the bigger dick, Elfangor or Chapman? Quite clearly, Elfangor. So Elfangor's the big hero, remember. He's the one, he's the big godlike hero we saw the start of book 1 of Animorphs. He is a bit of a dick, let's be honest. At least at this stage, as an Arist. Right, we've just abducted you from this other group of aliens that abducted you. You should be fucking grateful. You should be kissing at my fucking hooves. No, Elfangor. No. Fucking wanker. Alaran is a pretty standard sort of war prince type, except for the part where he talks about flushing the Yerks out. We get a sort of look at the butting heads of Alaran and Elfangor, which is quite a good moment. You're seeing how differently principled these two are. Alberon just sort of acts in the background at this point. He's starting to get a bit more of a friendship with Elfangor going on. It's part 1 of 3, so there's not that much to get into. I'm sure as we go into the next 2 parts, there'll be more content. But that's what we have so far. And the next part will be Alaran's Choice, which I'm sure will be an absolute blast. And then, of course, we'll have part 3, which will be An Alien Dies. And that will round up the Andalite Chronicles. I'm sorry I couldn't do it all in a one, but I think there's so much here that it's probably going to work better in 3 parts as the separate books. So, what do I give the rating on this one? Well, it was entertaining. It was very sci-fi. This is the most sci-fi Animorphs we've had so far. There's time travel, there's aliens, there's going on to new ships, seeing new alien races, going on to alien planets, doing alien shit. Yeah, that was good. And if it were for that, it would probably be a 9 or a 10. But the character flaws and just some poorly written stuff will drag this down. Chapman and Lauren, just these two extremes where one is seen as the bad guy and one is the good guy, even though one is just clearly off a rocker and the other one is acting like anybody should. Elfangor acting like a dick to this human that he's just abducted. That just grates me. Knock a point off for that. I'm erring on 8 and 9. It's not a 10. It's definitely not a 10. It was very entertaining, but there were just these awkward moments, and let's face it, it was mostly down to the characters. But if I say, right, Lauren is, you've dropped a point for Lauren. Elfangor, he's all right. He's a dick to Chapman, so, and he's nice to everyone else, which makes him seem a bit shady, but I'm going to wait until later on down the line of books to really get a grip on Elfangor's character. So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to give this one a 9, right? So Elfangor's journey is a 9 out of 10. Sci-fi fun. Much better than we've seen from the Andalites before. They're still incompetent shite, but this is a grand space adventure. And it really is quite grand. I just hope the characters become a bit better in parts 2 and 3. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next week for part 2, which is Alaran's Choice. Remember as well, for Christmas, it's not too far away now. Go get this for your family and friends. Go check out my fan fiction and go check out the Discord where we will soon be having a Christmas quiz and you can enter. I'm going to do a video on that as well. So we look forward to seeing you there. Goodbye everyone. Ta-ra!